Hello, I'm Mimi Lichtenstein, and today on Adventures in Luxury Travel, we are talking all about Tanzania, and I'm so excited to have Lylie back with me today. Welcome back, Lylie.
Thank you very much, Mimi. It's great to be back.
And we had a few technical glitches, which is why we're starting a few minutes late, but luckily, Lylie and I are used to dealing with glitches and bumps in travel situations, so we got them all figured out, and we're ready to go. The last couple of weeks, Lylie has been actually all over South Africa. And for those of you who don't know, we've done a couple of lives from a few lodges where Lylie has introduced us to the manager and showed us around and given us some really good glimpses into what it's like to be at one of these beautiful safari lodges. And I'm hopeful Lylie and I will get to do a few more of those, Tanzania or somewhere else.
Absolutely. Mimi, we'll have to do some together. We'll have to get you down to Africa.
That would be so fun. Well, I know you know that I'm coming to Kenya in July. And of course, I can't get enough of Africa. So I see many more trips in my future. All right, well, let's get started. We have a lot that we both want to talk about, I know. In terms of the map and where Tanzania is in all of Africa, it's in East Africa. Most people, have an idea if they're going to East Africa. Many people go to Kenya or Tanzania. And this map, you want to give us a little bit of an overview about where it falls in those other African countries?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, obviously, as Mimi said, Tanzania is in East Africa. It's right next door to Kenya. You've got Uganda and Rwanda also neighboring, which is fantastic. So, for those wanting to go and do sort of gorilla trekking as an add-on, it's a really, really lovely location to be able to do that. Down south from Tanzania, you've got Malawi, you've got Zambia, and then, of course, you've got the Republic of Congo. Just a little bit further to your left. So it's in a great part of Africa in regards to location to do two centers, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But also just to let you know, Tanzania, the capital is Dodoma. Everyone seems to think the capital is Dar es Salaam, but it's actually Dodoma. And it's got a population of about 60 million and various different airports within Tanzania as well. So you'll recognize airports like Dar es Salaam, Arusha. There is Dodoma as well. You've also got a airport up by Mount Kilimanjaro and a few others dotted around. Then there's lots of smaller airstrips, which we'll talk about later. But that just gives you a little bit of an overview of where Tanzania is actually located.
And I think we'll touch a little bit on, why Tanzania. If somebody's going on their first safari, or maybe they're going back on their second and they're deciding between Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, gorilla trekking or whatever. To me, what's so exciting about Tanzania is the culture and also the coastline, right? So you have Zanzibar and you have lots of water sports activities that would be a super fun complement to going on safari. So I think as far as location, it's awesome.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things as well, that all the attractions to Tanzania is obviously the migration, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But you can't believe it, but Tanzania has actually got 22 national parks. So there is so much to do in regards to, if you've got a person or a client that is so keen on game and a bush experience safari, there is so much to explore in Tanzania. You can combine various parks together. You can combine lakes and parks. You can combine, like you say, Mimi, parks and the coastline. So there is so much to do in this location. So as I mentioned, 22 national parks. We're going to touch on a few of the parks today, not very many of them, but just to give you an overview, we're going to touch on obviously the Serengeti, Grumeti. We're going to touch on. We're going to touch on Selous as well. And yeah, a few others, but we're not going to do too many because there's so many to cover. But yeah, that's what we'll start with today.
Okay, sounds like a great plan. All right, so why Tanzania? You touched a little bit on. So the Great Migration, a lot of people hear about the Great Migration, and I think we have a slide, maybe it's the next one, that shows the circle of it. Tell us what it's like to experience seeing some of these wildebeests or the Great Migration happening.
Yeah, so it's an incredible experience for those who have never been on safari, or those who've even been on another type of safari. There's nothing like the Great Migration. You're looking at about 2 million animals basically going on a migration with huge numbers, and they're basically circulating in a route, We'll talk about the route in a minute. But what's so great about it is that you get to experience being right in the middle of this. So the migration is a huge factor why people go to Tanzania. But there's other things as well why people, or other reasons. You've got places like Lake Tanganyika, which is the longest lake in the world. You've got Mount Kilimanjaro, which a lot of people would love to hike up. So there's a lot of attraction when it comes to why Tanzania, and I don't think you'll get to experience anything like this anywhere else in the world. In fact, you definitely won't. So the wildebeest, as I say, I mean, they run from south to north, and I'll talk about a little bit about that in the next map, which is all about the migration.
Okay, perfect. Let's pull that one up. There we go. So for those of you who are listening, essentially it's a circular diagram giving you an idea of which months the wildebeests and the animals will be sort of migrating through different parts of the southern part of Kenya, kind of southwestern part, and the northern part of Tanzania. So tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah. Correct. So if we work by calendar year, the migration normally starts in the south parts, the southern part there from January to March. And that's actually also the same time as the calving season. So there are lots of babies around, which in turn, what comes with that is lots of predators. So it's a very, very exciting time to be part of the migration because there are lots of babies around. And then obviously the migration starts going up north. So April, May time, a little bit further up north. Then you get to June, July, all the way to the top, right at the tip of the top, which is October, November, and then it works its way back down. So it's a constant moving migration, obviously. But what's important to know as well is the path can change slightly depending on the environment and the weather. So you're not guaranteed, every time you're going to see the migration at that exact point at that time of year. It's a rough estimate of where the migration will happen. So that gives you an idea there. So it's a moving target, so to speak.
All right. So I love this photo of Mount Kilimanjaro. As you mentioned, that's a bucket list item for many people, including myself.
Absolutely.
I wonder actually how long would be the right amount of time to be in Tanzania if I want to go, go on safari, go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, go over to stay at one of the lodges we're going to talk about in near Zanzibar. You need a solid month, maybe even 5 weeks.
I know, right? I mean, there's so much to explore. And I think, especially if you've got an active traveler who wants to do the hiking up Kilimanjaro, they say, the most successful rate to get to the summit is at least 6 days. So we would say at least 6 days to climb Kilimanjaro to make the summit. And so if you're talking about an active traveler, it can turn into weeks before you know it in this area. So definitely worth putting it in the diary and carving that time out. It's a once in a lifetime.
Absolutely. So today we're going to do a little different. We often talk about experiences and then talk about our favorite places later. But today we're going to integrate some of our favorite lodges within each of the different parks and areas of Tanzania. So do you want to kick us off with this first one?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so Grumeti, just so you know, sort of Grumeti is in a remote corner of the Serengeti National Park. So it really is sort of quite far up north. It's incredibly remote. So with that comes an exceptional game viewing and exclusive environment. So for those clients who are sort of wanting to go and get something really off the beaten track, I think there's only about 60 people that are allowed in the Grumeti Game Reserve at a time. Wow. So there's very limited numbers, and those numbers are actually portioned out between the various different luxury lodges. So what's lovely about that is there will always be an exclusivity to your time in Grumeti. Grumeti is also known for its large number of lion prides, so comprising of 20 to 60 individual lions, so per pride. So there's a lot of lions in that area, and it's very easy to get to Grumeti. Just to let you know, there's an airstrip there, and there's daily flights from Arusha, Dar es Salaam, Zanzibar. There's Mount Kili, so it's very easy to get to in regards to location. I would say it's one of the best areas to see the game, and it's obviously an area where you get to see lots of different games. So in the Grumeti, you've got various different types of accommodation. If you just go back one slide, if you wouldn't mind, Mimi, to the andBeyond Grumeti's River Lodge, Serengeti River Lodge. So just so you know, this particular property is actually just had a massive refurb, and it's only reopening in June, but it's beautiful. There's 10 rooms. It's in, as I say, a very remote area. It's ultimate exclusivity. It's on the banks of a tributary of the Grumeti River. So location-wise, you literally have the water flowing in front of you. From a cuisine point of view, lots of wholesome meals, healthy meals. They've even got a traditional boma where you have your normal boma meals, but they also do artisanal pizzas in the boma, which is really fun and different. And a whole baked fish, which is salt crusted, they do in the boma as well. So really, really lovely options in regards to offering there at Grumeti. They've also got a gym. Oh, sorry, Mimi, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, I also see in this photo, kind of hidden, but something that I know that they have there, which is some resident hippos, which hang out right outside. And if you look over here in this very little spot over here, this is an enormous hippo that you can just imagine sitting on one of these cocktail stools, having a cocktail, looking out at the hippos basking in the river.
I know, right? I mean, it couldn't get better than that. And you hear those hippos at night too. I mean, they make quite a loud grunting noise. And just there's nothing better than being in the bush, especially at night when you're in the safety of your room and all the doors are closed and you hear lions roaring or you hear the hippos going. I mean, it really is an incredible experience and something that everyone has to experience sometime in their life. So I'd highly recommend it. Also, just to let you know, that it is a big 5 area. So there's lots of walks, there's game drives, there's 2 game drives a day, your typical sort of game experience at these lodges. So you will get all of those experiences and walking safaris too. So lots to do in the area. I know we're talking about andBeyond here, but there is some incredible Singita lodges as well. So I'm not too sure if you've got some slides on Singita there.
I don't think we do have some slides on Singita, but not within Grumeti, I don't think.
Okay.
But I will say, I forgot to say that in the beginning. One of the reasons I also love Tanzania is 2 of my favorite lodge brands have many different properties there, andBeyond and Singita. There are multiple properties in multiple parks. Yeah. So you really can't go wrong. And as you can tell from looking at some of these photos, this particular one is very contemporary, very clean lines. As you mentioned, it just reopened. I think, did they have a flood? That's why they closed for a while?
No, I'm not sure if it was a flood, but I just know they just decided to do a full refurb. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure of the details of why they did the refurb, but it was a massive refurb.
Right. And so you look at this and it's like, I mean, you could be in the Maldives, you could be, anywhere. It's like super beautiful.
Luxurious.
Yeah, and luxurious. So anyway, but if we do have another Singita one, but it's Singita Sabora, which I know is a big favorite of people. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Okay, so Singita, it's actually got some stunning lodges in the Grumeti area. So they've got Faru Faru, they've got Serengeti House, Singita Explore, and this is one of my favorites is Singita Sabora. So, I mean, they've also got, Sasakwa Lodge as well, which I didn't mention. So they are beautiful, beautiful lodge. Singita, they really know how to do it. All their lodges are done, in fact, quite a few of their lodges are done in different styles and feels in Tanzania. So you've got, for instance, you've got Singita Explore, which is your tented camps. You've got, you've got Sabora, which is also your tented camps. Then you've got Serengeti House, which is more like a villa concept for a multi-gen family. You've also got Sasakwa Lodge, which is more an Edwardian manor with sort of darker feels and sort of looks in regards to the decor. So Singita does it very well, as does andBeyond, and you will always find the right lodge for the right people who are wanting specific. So if it's a multi-gen or a family, you'll always find that.
Yeah. And again, it's just super contemporary. I realized, although this one is the more tented camp look, when you look at, what your bathtub looks like and what the views are, right outside where, a lion could be walking by, you can only imagine what that would be like as you're sitting there in your bathtub. We changed the order of these, which is why I didn't have,
no problem.
Right. But anyway, so here's the gorgeous terrace, again, with the canvas walls that roll up and roll down. So a completely different feel than the andBeyond one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, with their neutral colors of this particular lodge, I mean, it really is exquisite because you really do blend directly straight into the environment around you,
Hmm.
which is great. And a lot of these are obviously made with wooden decks. So it's, there's a very big sustainable element here when we talk about these lodges. Some of them are firm lodges and stuck in specific buildings. And then some are actually tented, more mobile sort of camps where they actually get built specifically for the guests, and then they get taken down as well. So depending on what the clients are looking for, this particular one I love, and it's also, as I say, it just sits so perfectly in its environment.
And I will say this is also one of the favorite lodges of one of my colleagues who goes on a lot of safaris. So I would say
Brilliant.
that this is definitely, top of the list.
Super.
The other fun thing is when you're going on safari, if you're interested in both experiences, don't stay in tented camps each time, right? Like
Absolutely.
we would work to give you a diversity of feels to the camp and what they're like and size. And
Yeah.
this one also has a beautiful gym, their fitness center, where someone is here doing yoga, what looks like probably by the sunrise. But you can get exercise while you're there.
Absolutely. And what's lovely about this particular camp is that they've got quite a heavy focus on meditation decks and, healthy living and wellness. I mean, there's only 9 luxury tents here. So again, it's very small and intimate. So it really is an absolutely beautiful setting for those just wanting to get into the middle of nowhere, into almost a retreat, maybe a bit of health and wellness as well as some safari. It's a lovely, lovely option.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then this is a beautiful photo of, it looks like probably sunset, some elephants crossing along in front of
Correct.
the river. Tell us a little bit about Selous.
Okay, so Selous National Park is a little bit towards the south of Tanzania, and it's a protected area. It's actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is incredible. It's very well known for its elephant, its black rhino, hippos. I'm sure you can see in the photo there's some hippos in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Also known for its buffalo, giraffe, zebra, and crocodile, which is exciting because of all the water around. What's interesting here is it's actually we've got the Rufiji River, which actually runs through this area. So, in regards to the lush environment that comes with the river, it really is a very green, very lush. It attracts lots of animals towards the water. So, it really is an incredible location. Also, the river runs directly into the Indian Ocean opposite Mafia Island. So, it's actually it's a very active river in that sense, and it's a long river. So, lots of activity, as I mentioned, in this area. Also very well known for its photographic safaris. So those who are wanting to especially in the northern area, fantastic photographic safaris too.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Well, and here is one of the lodges, one of your favorite lodges in the area. Tell us a little bit about Sand River.
So Sand River Selous, it's a small lodge. You've only got five riverside rooms and 3 hillside villas. So it's actually only eight suites in total. So again, very small, right on the banks of the river. It's a barefoot luxury lodge. So it's owned actually by Nomad Safaris, who have had a footprint in Tanzania since the get-go. So they really, really know what they're talking about in regards to setup and locations, etc. What's lovely about this is you can do boating up to Stiglius Gorge. So it's a very long day today. So you can do boating up to that area. So different things. It doesn't always have to be the vehicle safaris or the walking safaris. There's a lot of water. So on the lakes and on the rivers. So there's lots of safaris that can be incorporated into that, which is great. It's also very easily accessible from Dar es Salaam. It's only a 45-minute flight. So it's great and easy to get to. And it's just a lovely option for those wanting a bit of a variation. The main area is raised, as you can see there. It's raised off the river, so the views over the river are exceptional, and it's exactly where all the hippos are. So again, sitting by the bar, having a cocktail, watching the hippos, really, really stunning. They also have, which I have to mention, is fly fishing, and they also have the best place. This location is the best place to see wild dog. So for those looking for wild dog and an experience of fly fishing, this is your best bet.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, for some people who are into fishing, again, throw in something like this or put in a water safari after you've gone on a regular safari and a walking safari, just to give you all that diversity of how each camp and each, location is different.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Well, it looks gorgeous. Okay, let's move on to the next park.
Okay, so now we're in Ruaha. So it's a little bit further north in Selous. What's lovely about this particular game reserve is, first, it's named after the Great Ruaha River. But not just that, it's very easy to get to. There's 2 accessible airstrips that would allow you to get into this area. But it's a really, really lovely combination with Selous, because Selous, if you can think of the vegetation and the lushness and the greenery that you had there in the river, this is directly a contrast to that. So here you've got a very arid, dry game reserve, and you've got koppies, the little rocks, and you've got baobab trees. This is very, very well known for its birds. You've got about 571 species of birds here, and you've also got the resident hornbill, which is great. Cheetah as well is known in this area. So as you can see, it's a lovely combination to combine the Selous as well as this Ruaha Game Reserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the contrast. And then this is one of your favorite camps in this area. Tell us a little bit about Jongomero.
Okay, so here we're looking at about an hour and a half flight from Dar es Salaam, so very close to Dar and very accessible. The lodge itself is only 5 minutes from the airstrip, and it's located on the riverbanks. So again, beautiful views over the riverbanks. It's the second largest national park in Tanzania, and this is also known for its elephant. So anyone who particularly wants to see elephant should come to this area. It's only got eight large tented suites as well. As you can see, Mimi, I don't know if on the right hand side, the bed is actually made from a reclaimed dhow. And the dhow is the typical boats that they go sailing on. So really fun and authentic in regards to how it was designed and how it was put together. What they have here as well is something called fly camping, which I love. So fly camping is basically you're going on a walking safari in the day, and then you get to an open area where you will sleep underneath the stars at night. You will have a bucket shower, a safari bucket shower, and then you'll have a lovely dinner around the campfire stories, and head back the next day. So that's a lovely thing to do in this area. It's very unique, and you can't do this in all game areas. So it's a really lovely option for those who are really wanting to get into the rusticness of a bush experience. The best time to do that is actually from mid-July until the end of November. And also the child policy also at this lodge, just so you know, they don't accept more than 2 children at a time at the lodge. And that just goes without you would understand why you would have that. And that's basically just to keep an eye. We can't have too much noise with the kids, one, and you can't also have it's dangerous for lots of kids in a lodge. So that's just the policy there when it comes to that.
And just out of curiosity, when you say that, so let's say someone's a family with 3 kids, how does that work?
They would make a plan for 3 kids. If it's one family, I think it's more based on if there was one family with 2 and another family with 3, they would say no. But I think absolutely with a family of 3, you could absolutely work with that.
Good. And I do think we didn't touch on it at the beginning, but East Africa is such a great destination for families with kids because of the cultural component. The colorful culture and interactions with the different tribes. And so it seems like most of the lodges, not all, but most of them are pretty flexible as far as minimum ages for kids.
Yeah. So look, when it comes to things like walking safaris, we always sort of say a good age for a walking safari is anywhere from 12 upwards. Some lodges only accept 16 upwards. And in regards to the actual acceptance of children in lodges, some say only above 6 years old. So, you've got lots of things to take into account. You've got things like malaria, things like accessibility to airstrips and all of that. When you're going into some of these lodges that are, remote, you want to be sure that you know that they've got the facilities that are needed for kids. And obviously that would be set up, if it is a child-friendly lodge, of course there's going to be all the setups necessary, but it's just something to take into account, and we would always guide you as to which lodges are best for kids.
Yeah. Okay. And it's always nice to have a pool.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's transition to the next national park.
Okay, so now we're in Mahale Mountain National Park, and it's actually named after the mountain range at the back here. What's lovely about this particular sort of national park is it's based on a beautiful lake. It's on the eastern shore of Lake Tanganyika. But what's lovely about this is it's got some very, very unusual characteristics, this area. So number one is you can actually only get into this area by boat. And once you're in, you can only walk around. There's no roads, there's no vehicles. It's all on foot. And another unique characteristic is that this is an area known for protection of the chimpanzees. So there's a lot of chimpanzee families in this area. Fantastic for trekking to go and see the chimps. And it's also the only place that chimpanzees and lions coexist, which is quite interesting. So very lovely offering there. As you can see, it's very lush. The topography is quite different in the sense that you've got, I mean, you're seeing one image here, but this is you seeing the rainforest side. There's also grasslands, there's woodlands. There's about 90 plus different species of fish in this lake as well. So fantastic for fishing, fantastic for, kayaking and getting a bit of a variation, seeing the chimps now. If you can imagine going to see the big five in one area, in a dry area, and mixing it with this and going to see the chimpanzees and going kayaking, it really is a fantastic offering.
And again, if you're going on safari for a solid couple of weeks and you have that opportunity to stay in, at least 3, maybe even 4 places, what a fun addition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, one of our best sort of sellers in the area is the Nomad Greystoke Mahale. And what's lovely about this, it's so rustic, and there's only 6 rooms here, and it's a Robinson Crusoe type of feel. As you can see, you're literally all on the beach around the campfire, enjoying stories from the day. You can do romantic dhow trips. You can go and see the chimpanzees, as I mentioned. There's kayaking, fishing, etc. So it's a really, really lovely base to do all of that from.
Absolutely beautiful and fun to perhaps contrast this with one of the more contemporary,
Absolutely.
exciting ones. I'm going to let you want to kick off the Ngorongoro Crater.
Yeah. Okay. So this is absolutely another location in regards to a must-do in Tanzania. So the Ngorongoro Crater, for those of you that don't know, is the largest inactive, unbroken volcanic caldera in the world. So it was formed about 2.5 million years ago. And it really is, if you're going to go to Tanzania, you cannot not go to the Ngorongoro Crater. Because it really is an experience of a lifetime. It's about 180 kilometers west of Arusha, so very easy to fly into Arusha, maybe do one night in Arusha just to acclimatize, maybe do the coffee plantations around Arusha, and then fly straight into the crater. Then you can go and do the Grumeti, etc. So you can do a whole sort of nice tour around, or a nice route, should I say. Excuse me. It is a protected area. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well, and it's part of the Ngorongoro Conservation Area. So just that's a bit of background about the Ngorongoro Crater. What I love about this particular property, which is the andBeyond Ngorongoro Crater, is its location. It's absolutely stunning. It's set on the sides of the mountain or of the crater, looking down into the crater. So it really is the most beautiful location. And it's known as what they say Messiah meets Versailles. So it's got a bit of a French influence to it as well. It's steeped in romance. I mean, you can see by the interiors, it's very romantic. If you can imagine looking out at your view from this particular room, absolutely exquisite. There's lots of diversities when it comes to adventures. There's so much to do in the area, which we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, there's from an experiential point of view, I mean, you can see there, look at that view, absolutely stunning. They've got about 30, well, they've got 30 suites there. So nice amount of suites, not too big, not too small. They're all quite separate. They're not very close to each other, which is lovely. But what I love here is the amount of experiences you can do. So you can actually go down into the crater and have a picnic in the crater. You can have a beautiful private dining experience in the crater where they bring out the white tablecloth and the silver cutlery, and you're sitting in the crater in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it really is one of those things that you have to do in your life. So if you're going to do it anywhere, do it at the andBeyond in Ngorongoro Crater Lodge, because it really is a stunning option. Also, just to let you know, another experience they've got is the Cope Lion experience, which is really an NGO experience, which really just explains to people how the Maasai live within nature and how they live side by side with wildlife. So it's a really sort of informative program. They've got the Wild Child program as well for kids. And here they recommend children 8 or older to stay. So yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful lodge and well worth it. Just from a kid's perspective, very quickly, Mimi, they've got various activities from bead making to tree planting. They've got wood carving. So there really is a lot to offer for kids as well. So it's not this sort of a boring experience for kids in any way, shape, or form. So just to mention that as well.
Well, I will add that I believe one of my colleagues took her parents there for their 50th anniversary and said that they held hands the entire time they were there. They said it was the most romantic
Wow.
place they'd ever been to in their whole life.
Amazing.
And
And
you,
I can see why. I mean, if you look at that view, it's absolutely exceptional. I
yeah,
think an interesting fact, I don't know if you know this, Mimi, but do you know what Ngorongoro means?
no,
So it's a Maasai word that the Maasai warriors use to term the sound of the jingle bell that's tied around the lead cow in a group.
yeah.
So as it goes jingle jingle, that's the Maasai word is Ngoro Ngoro. So
Oh,
that is the understanding behind the word Ngorongoro.
wow. Well, it does look magical. You were talking about eating down in the crater, which would be a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah,
Here's a photo of another romantic dining experience up on a terrace overlooking the crater. So,
yeah,
multiple options for eating in multiple destinations when you're staying here. And I do think, as you mentioned, I mean, the look of this lodge is very different compared to some of the
mhm,
other ones, right? So, um,
absolutely.
again, knowing that going in is helpful just in case someone's expecting to show up to a tented camp. This is
Mm,
definitely not going to give you that look. But when you go outside and you sit on this gorgeous terrace with, the nighttime fires burning, looking out over the beautiful view, I mean, it's just absolutely magical. So I
absolutely.
think
No,
everybody should go there at some point in their life for sure.
it's
Um,
definitely on a lot of people's list that I've been speaking to recently. They're just like, let's do it. Let's not wait. Let's just do it, you
right?
know?
Let's just do it, right? Everyone's feeling that way, just in case something else comes along and wreaks havoc with
Exactly.
They
Exactly.
they also have a family suite, which we haven't really touched on those for each of the lodges, but some of the lodges do have family suites where the parents' room and the kids' room are connected, which oftentimes families appreciate when they're
Mm,
potentially surrounded by lots of wild animals. So there are many of these
absolutely.
lodges that do have that option.
And
Uh,
also they have a lot of them have their own private plunge pools as well.
yeah.
So what's lovely about that is, that you've got your own, you don't have to go to a communal pool and, especially if someone's on a honeymoon and then you've got a family as well, you can
Yeah.
actually keep quite separate, which is lovely.
Mhm.
Um, so lots of that sort of thing.
A
So
and
onto Katavi. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say this guy's pretty cute. So for those of you who can't see him, maybe you wouldn't say he was cute, but I find him endearing. Tell us a little bit about Katavi and what we're gonna see there.
I tell you what, Mimi, he looks cute in the day, but you should see him at night. His eyes go red and he looks very scary.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So we're talking bighorn buffalo with big sort of
Bighorn,
curved
Cape
horn.
Buffalo.
Yeah, he
Ex
has a little bit of an intimidating look on his face. So yeah, we wouldn't wanna
I
meet
think
him on our way to, to go get a drink or something in the
no,
evening. No.
definitely not. But, he's a Cape Buffalo and you know what, He's very well known in the area. You see him all over Africa, in South Africa as well. So yeah, really, really part of the whole game viewing experience. So Katavi is the third largest national park in Tanzania. And it's actually got the legendary tamarind tree, which is said to house the spirit of a great huntsman called Katavi. So when people go to this area, they're actually in search of the tamarind tree, which is quite unique and different. But again, a lovely option for those looking for another national park, and another option to go and experience it.
Okay. And then, so one of your favorite properties there is this one. Tell us a little bit more about this one.
Yes. So this is Nomad Chada, Katavi. What's lovely about this is there's only 6 canvas tents here. So it's a really small, intimate camp. You can see the setup. It's not uber luxury. It's got ensuite bathrooms though. It's got a lovely sort of lounge and library area. And it really is stunning in regards to its experiences as well. So picnic breakfasts in the bush. They've got both indoor and outdoor dining options. So there's lots to offer, even though it's very, very small and intimate. So this, as a multi-gen family, for instance, wanting to go away in 6 suites and take over the whole lodge, would be absolutely amazing experience.
And people might have noticed, but most of the lodges that we talk about, as far as having a luxury lodge or an exclusive experience, they're pretty small. So I think the biggest one we talked about was 30 rooms, going down to potentially 6, or there are villas, of course, with 4. But because of that, they sell out in advance. Many dates book up with somebody
Yes.
potentially taking this over for their family or something. So the earlier you look into planning a safari, the better, because then you're not making compromises to stay at places that you wouldn't otherwise stay, simply because the places that you want to stay are already full. So
yeah, and especially when it comes to a 2 or 3 center trip, because you're trying to lock in particular dates for the whole itinerary. So that makes a huge difference as well. So I
And
agree.
the
The
order
sooner
matters.
you know. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say the order matters, right? In terms of logistics to getting from one place
Absolutely.
to another place, in addition to wanting to up level each place each time. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, the flights. I mean, some of the flights don't go daily, depending on where you're traveling to. So again, that can shift an itinerary slightly to have an extra day somewhere or a day less somewhere. So it's all those things to take into account.
Yeah. Okay, so now we get to skip over to what is on the very tippy top of my bucket list, over off the coast. You want to tell us a little bit about this andBeyond Lodge?
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's one of my favorite lodges. I was lucky enough to go there a while ago now, pre-COVID. Absolutely exquisite. It's in the northeastern parts of Zanzibar. So it's a little island off the northeastern tip of Zanzibar. So obviously Zanzibar is an incredible destination in itself. It's steeped in history and culture. It's known as the Spice Island. So there's lots of spice tours, and it's also very well known for Stone Town, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site again, which has got bustling markets and carved wooden beautiful doors and mosques and grand Arab residences. So there's a lot in Zanzibar. But then if you just go a little bit north for about an hour and a half from Zanzibar Airport, you get to the northern tip, and you get on a speedboat for 10 minutes, and you arrive at this most idyllic island called Mnemba Island and beyond. So basically, when you get there, there's no jetties. You literally jump off the boat into the sand. Pull up your skirt or pull up your trousers, and you're in the water, and off you wade to the shore, and you're on your little piece of paradise for however long. We would suggest at least 4 nights here, if not longer. It's only got 12 banders. They're very rustic banders. They're called rustically chic, and they really are. They're absolutely exquisite. What's lovely about this particular island is that firstly, you can walk around it in about half an hour, 40 minutes. So it's not big. Another thing is that it's got, in the center of the island, there's quite a lot of foliage. So you can have a beautiful forest dinner with all these beautiful lights around you. I was there with a colleague, so it wasn't as romantic, because my colleague Chantal and I were staring into each other's eyes and thinking, oh, how we wish we had our husbands here. But it really was an amazing experience. And the banders, which will, I'm sure you've got a picture of the banders, but they're so beautiful inside. What's interesting here is as you can see, there's actually no glass windows or doors. So it's all done with a roll down mat, which actually adds to the whole experience. So when you walk in, you almost feel like you're in your own, I want to say, like a basket, like a weaved basket. And you've got beautiful furnishings. The bathroom ensuite is exceptional. You've got a lovely outdoor area there, which you can just sit in. And what's lovely as well is you can just walk straight from there onto the beach, go snorkeling, go diving. You can go on beautiful dhow trips in the evening, sunset dhow trips. There's a little area where you can go and have a setup. There's a bar area you can go and sit in the evening. So it really is romantic. I would say it's ideal for honeymooners and for those looking for sort of getting away from it all. This is the one place in the world that I have seen turtle hatchings, which was incredible. So there's so much happening in the environment as well. So a must do. You can see how the contrast of this together with the safari would work so well.
Agreed. The barefoot luxury, the stepping out. I was in St. Lucia last week and we had a beachfront bungalow for one of our stays. And then we were up like on the fourth floor, maybe overlooking a beautiful view at the second one. And I much prefer the be on the beach, walk right there.
Yes,
there's the beach.
Absolutely.
It's all inclusive. It's not inexpensive. So save up your funds if you'd like to go. But as far as a magical experience, you just can't beat it.
And I think what's lovely about it as well is because it's all inclusive, you don't have to worry about every little thing that you're having. And also it's come as you are. I mean, there's no dressing up. You hardly put on shoes the whole time you're there. You walk off the beach into your banda in your swimming costume. You lie on the couch with your sarong and swimming costume all afternoon. It's that type of experience. It's one that you're not putting on heels for dinner every night and glitzy long dresses. It really is, at one with nature.
Sounds like I'd like to be there right now, actually.
Me too.
One day we'll go together.
Done.
All right. So we've touched a little bit on walking safaris and the different types, boating safaris and things like that. It's really nice. Not every country has the opportunity to do walking safaris. So it is nice that in Tanzania, if you like to be a little more active, that is an option.
It is. And what's great about the walking safaris is that they're not offered everywhere. I mean, Grumeti is probably one of the best areas to do a walking safari. It's more well known in that area. But if you can imagine, you're hours and hours on foot in the bush and you're learning about so many different things. I mean, you're learning about the insects, the birds, you're learning about tracking animals, the cultural and the medicinal uses of indigenous plants. So there's so much to do on a walking safari. It's not just sort of walking around and getting, and especially even for kids, they get so involved. And it really is a special experience. So highly recommended in this area.
Yeah. Beautiful. And we touched a little bit on the chimpanzee trekking, which again is fairly unique.
Yeah.
This guy's got a cute little face as well.
Exactly in the morning.
And the culture. So this is an example of one of the cultural tribes and their dance. There, I believe there's 130 plus different tribes within just Tanzania.
Yeah, there's a lot of tribes within Tanzania. And I mean, obviously you've got the Maasai influence as well, the Kenyan Maasai influence, and they wear all these chakras, which is the red attire. So, there's a lot of culture in the area, but the people are so friendly. And so, when you've got a Maasai walking you back to your room, at night, because, they always walk guests back to their room at night because of the game. I mean, you just feel safe. I mean, and on a walking safari, you just feel safe just because of the sheer size of them. They know the environment, they know the nature, they know how to read the wildlife. So, very, very strong culture and amazing culture.
Okay, so let's transition before we end to some of the important takeaway tips and things that you need to know when you're coming. A couple
Yeah.
are about the importance for malaria and yellow fever. You want to touch on that first?
Sure. Okay. So, obviously, this area is a malaria area, so it's definitely worth taking malaria tablets to go to the area. There's various different ones that you can take, and yeah, we would suggest that you do take them. In regards to the best time of year to go, the great thing is that it's actually an all year round destination. To speak, there's a green season, which is also it's actually the rainy season, but they call it the green season.
Mhm,
And there's long rains usually between late March and early June, and then you've got short rains between November and mid December. But really, because the migration is moving all the time, it's a year round destination. You will find depending on what time of year you go, you just base yourself in lodges that are in that area. So
mhm,
it really is an all year round destination. I wanted to chat about the hot air ballooning in this picture as well, because
mhm,
hot air ballooning is also something that I would absolutely recommend doing in Tanzania. So, firstly, from a weather perspective, most days of the year one is able to go up in the balloon. I would highly recommend that you pre-book it, because it is hard to it's not hard to, but it's obviously you need, if you want to do it and it's so special,
yeah,
I would really recommend pre-booking. You're looking at about $580 per person to go up in the balloon. And normally, what that includes is your transfer from one of the central Serengeti lodges to the balloon site launch. Then, once you've launched and you're in the air, you have champagne and all of that. Then, when you land, you have a little English breakfast, and then they transfer you back to the lodge. So that would be your sort of experience as a whole, and you're looking at about 580 for that.
mhm,
Um, in regards to sort of age restrictions, probably 7 years and up,
mhm,
depending on the actual child. But they say a minimum of about 7 years is a good age to go up, and really an experience of a lifetime. So I
mhm.
would really, really recommend it for anyone going.
Yeah, we're scheduled to do one in Kenya, so I'm so looking forward to that.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Mimi, lucky.
I'm
Fantastic.
Well, it's just one of those things if you're going. I'm also big into star beds. We'll be sleeping in a star bed in Kenya as well. If you're going all that way, is it a big ticket item? Yes, but,
Absolutely.
some of
But you
those
got to
over
do it.
yeah, the over the top things that cost a lot, sometimes they're worth it, sometimes they're not. We'll always
Yeah,
guide you to the ones that are worth it. So, that happens
absolutely.
to be one of them. I love this photo of, here you are in the middle of nowhere going down a dirt road and you aren't in traffic with other vehicles really, but you are with a bunch of wildebeest who are crossing in front of you. I can't imagine
True.
what it'd be like to get caught, behind, let's say the maybe not 2 million wildebeest are gonna cross in front of you, but a good chunk of them, it might
Exactly.
take you a while, right?
No, I mean that's what you call what is it called, a traffic jam in the bush. I mean,
Yeah.
it literally is. I mean, you can't move anywhere. So yeah, I think logistics wise, you can see roughly, this sort of says it all. I mean, there's various different airlines that fly into various different airports, which I've mentioned right in the beginning in Tanzania. But what's important to know is on the light aircrafts, your luggage is about 15 k's, your hand luggage is 5. But it's very important to have soft-sided luggage
Yeah.
because of where the luggage is put. So that's something just to always mention to clients and to guests who are going. And as I say, the smaller aircrafts get you into the smaller airstrips and right close to the camp. So it's always worth doing that. You can go to a lot of them by road. Some of it can be long, bumpy roads. Some can be, short roads. But it really is part of the whole experience. But
Mhm.
logistically, very easy to get into the areas.
Mhm. Um, and oh, this is interesting. So this is this this is our slide on the peak season, the green season, and the low season. However,
It's all low season, so no. No, just so you know how that works. So generally peak season is June to August.
yeah.
And then you've got December and January, obviously because it's Christmas, that's also known as a peak season. You've got shoulder season, which is usually from September and October. And then you've got off peak, which is January to May and November to December.
Mhm.
So that's how it sort of works when it comes to the seasons.
Okay. Um, and combining Tanzania with other places. Obviously,
Mm.
it's super close to Kenya. Um,
Hmm.
we talked about Mount Kilimanjaro. We talked about Zanzibar. You're also pretty close to go gorilla trekking if you want to do that. Um, South Africa. So here we have a picture of Cape Town and Table Mountain, which is spectacular. How easy is it to combine Tanzania with Southern Africa?
So really, really good combination. I mean, the flight from Dar es Salaam down to Johannesburg is only 3.5 hours. So it's a really, really doable. Then once you're in Johannesburg, you can do another a bush experience where you're seeing the game that's more intensified right by your vehicles, like lions, leopards, etc. So, for instance, if you want to experience the big cats, you go to the Sabi Sands. So you could do a couple days there and then end off in the winelands in the Cape area. So very, very nice option. Tanzania and South Africa as a combo, and then of course Kenya is it goes without saying, also lovely option here, and then the Kenyan coast we spoke about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, how long must we go? I say a solid month. If I had the time,
I
I would,
know, right?
right? And it's one of those things where hopefully in life you'll go on more than one safari. So you don't have to pack everything in one trip
Mm.
because, especially if you're a family, even if you have the money and the time to do a month-long safari, that's a pretty big commitment for the kids. So um
Absolutely. And what we're finding as well is, more and more people are doing longer lengths of stay in one place.
mhm,
So instead of trying to fit in lots of combined areas, which we can do, instead go to Tanzania and do a 3 or 2 or however many weeks you can do in that area and do it properly,
yeah.
because your next safari experience will be completely different, in Kenya, for instance, or in South Africa or Botswana. So
Mhm,
if you are a family that loves a safari, instead of trying to pack it all in, do destination by destination and do it
mhm.
properly.
Mhm. And that's one of the reasons that we are just going to Kenya this year, because I would have loved to have put on Tanzania as well. It's, the world's a little complicated right now, so it's just easier to try to make your trip
A good
slightly
one.
less complicated. Um, but clearly, it's an amazing destination for families, for adults, for honeymooners, really for anybody. It should be on your short list if you're going to head out on a safari anytime soon. So, thank you so much for sharing all your insights and expertise.
Oh,
I
absolute pleasure, Mimi.
I
It's
can't.
it's been a pleasure to do this series with you, and yeah, you know where to contact us at Guilt Edge if you need anything, and yeah, we look forward to sending you and whoever else comes past your path that wants to come to Africa.
Yes, I know there will be many people. So, thank you again, and you and I will be in touch soon.
Super. Thank you so much, Mimi. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.